Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. And guys, I'm super excited. Today, I've got a friend that I haven't actually had a chance to catch up with properly in quite some time. So really excited to have a nice, just honest, open communication, open conversation with Eli Nevarez. He's actually out in Albuquerque, and we've connected just over the last couple of years a few times, but somebody I really look up to, somebody I just really want to get to know a little bit better. And I'm excited to have him on the show. So Eli, you're actually the first return guest of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. So we're so excited to have you back on season 3. Welcome to the show.
No, man, such an honor. Thanks for having me back. And I really appreciate hanging out with you. And the last time you see me, I had some hair. Now, obviously, I don't, right? We've got a different look going on, right?
You do.
Life is life and it hit us a little hard in our early 30s, but it's cool, right? They say that when you go bald, that you get magical powers. I don't know. I'm still waiting for that, I guess. But yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to chat with you, catch up and see how you're doing, talk chop a little bit and see what we can do to help some people out there. Cause I know you got a big platform, people always listening, sharing all the reels and all that stuff. And I think it's actually pretty cool what you're doing. So I'm actually honored. Thanks for having me again. And yeah, let's see what's up.
Yeah, man, I'm excited just to, obviously our audience isn't all realtors. It's people from all walks of life. And I think something that everybody has in common, though, is just this pursuit of being better, getting better, finding ways that they can apply that to their busy, hectic lives. And you're somebody that I've always admired for having a lot of balls up in the air and being able to still be high functioning, high producing. Just seems like you're a very successful guy, yet you have a lot on your plate. So just kind of give us a little bit just a background of you. I know you're a family man. You've got, in addition to being a realtor, you also have another full-time job. Just give a little bit of a background.
So for those who don't know, yes, I am a full-time person here at the police department. I work in the warehouse and I help them run it. And I also do real estate full-time as well. As you can say, I don't really ever know anybody that's part-time in real estate that is even successful at it. Because it's a full-time gig, right? It's like you're always on the clock. And aside from that, right, family man, kiddos, club sports, homeschooling, doctor's appointments and all this stuff, right? So we try to figure out and balance life as much as we can. And my biggest thing to that, right, that I always tell people is there's no such thing as balance. It just all kind of intertwines and intermingles with one another. And you just really try to find those key moments to where you can take advantage of really being present and really, it for me is as easy as it sounds, it's just putting my phone down, right? Putting my phone down, detaching from everybody else. And I really see it in a way to where the world gets me from the time that I wake up at 7:00. Well, obviously I wake up way earlier than that, but I really set it to 7:00 to 7:00. 7:00 in the morning to 7:00 at night. That's when the world gets an opportunity to get me. Anything else, even the little gaps in between, that's left over for my family. And it's sad, but it's, the reality of the world that we live in. We got to do things in the pursuit of progress, right? We got to do all these things to progress and become better, to provide a better life and a better opportunity for our own, right? Whether it's friends and family, our kids and our wives, husbands, daughters, whatever, right? We gotta find this I don't even know what to say or how to explain it, but we got to find these roles to where we can actually, you know what? I do have something. I recently ran into this Navy SEAL. His name is DJ Shipley. He really talks about dials, not switches. And I really have learned to really when to use those dials, right? We have all these different dials in our life. And for me, just being able to dial back when I need to be a dad versus a realtor or a business person or whatever the case is has helped me out like tremendously. And I'm not perfect at it by any means. I'm still working at it, but just being able to just be present where my feet are at, like right now with this podcast, like I'm fully committed to this right now. Nothing else in the world matters. Like the world can be burning around us, but I'm here. Right. And I'm going to give my full attention. I'm going to give it to you, Adam, and your audience to make sure that I can really give everything that I am on this podcast and vice versa. Right. When I'm at home, if I don't answer you, I'm sorry. Like I'll get back to you. Right. You might text me at 9:00 and you might get a text back at 7 o'clock in the morning. Like, that's not my fault that you're not awake yet, but that's all due respect. That's when my operating hours are,
Yeah, I think
right?
with real estate specifically, that's so challenging. And I know there's other careers that have, similar, we always are working type mentality, but having that ability to kind of turn things off and realize that if you don't respond to somebody for an hour, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to lose you the deal. You're going to be okay. And understanding that to then be present when you are in those moments, whether it be family or work, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that's great.
And it's really giving yourself the permission to do that, right? Because there's a lot of times where, especially when you're starting out, to where, yes, there is a time and place to where it's like, man, I really need to pursue this right now. And sometimes the family takes a back seat, right? My family did that for the longest time. And what I remind people that are first getting into the business, I always ask them, like, dude, like, there's going to be nights where if you do have a family, they're going to get put in the back burner. You're going to be late for dinner. You're not always going to be there for birthday parties. Like, it gets better if you stick through it and you figure out like your lane and what you're good at and what you can do, with whatever skills you have to be able to serve these people. Then that's when things get easier, but it's going to take some time. Just know that. Can we cuss on your podcast? Okay. I call it eating shit sandwiches, right? You're going to eat a lot of shit sandwiches until you get to the point where you can actually have a nice dinner to where you can enjoy it, have a steak dinner, and really enjoy the fruits of your labor. But it's going to take some time. So just be patient.
I like that. I like that. I'd like to just maybe dive in a little bit too on just having somebody on the podcast today that lives in a different geographical location than Colorado, where both my co-host Ben and I are from, and where we, typically are talking to other people within Denver here. You're in Albuquerque, and a couple things I wanted to talk about with that. First off, I think you're a native of New
Yep.
Mexico, right? You're born and
Hmm.
raised there, but
Yep.
I know you also, I think, spent some time in New York City.
Yep. Yep.
So
I
just like
spent about six
understanding
months.
6 months. So at least you had enough
Yeah.
of a time to get a feel for it. Just like understanding, right now in Colorado, Denver's becoming just so much more of a big city where it's just the pace, everything is faster than it used to be here. And there's definitely a lot of value to living in a smaller town or at least an area that doesn't have quite as much just, craziness going on. With Albuquerque, I feel like that might be an area like that. Do you feel like there is a lot of value to that, especially as we get into this world that we live in today where there's just so many distractions and just things going on being in an area like Albuquerque? Do you have maybe just a couple things that you really love about being in that small town?
Yeah. Really great question. And yes, to your point, right? We're a growing city and there's a lot of things that are fast paced here and a lot of things that are changing, right? Just because of the way of the world. But Albuquerque is one of those places to where things rarely change. And when they do, they take time. So with this whole new world, everybody's moving fast paced. We're starting to find, especially through our relocation business, that a lot of people are leaving those fast paced things. They're tired of feeling like they're constantly on this hamster wheel and they don't have no normalcy of life, right? They don't have weekends to where they can get away, go on a hike, go on a walk with their dog, enjoy family time or whatever the case is, because they always have to look forward to that next thing to progress or to make more money or whatever the case is, right? That big city mentality for me, because I've experienced it, and, maybe it's just not for me, maybe it is for some people, and, in some case in point, it is necessary to get a taste of that, but in all reality, human beings just aren't built for that. Human beings are not built to constantly be on this wheel, to constantly hustle and grind and this and that. It's more of a lie. It's more of a facade. When Instagram came into place and all these gurus said, like, oh, you got to hustle your face off. Okay, cool. But at the same time, like living where I live, we only have about 500,000 people that live here in the metro area. And that's like a quarter of a fraction of the people that live in Denver, right? I could assume that a few million people live in Denver. So when it comes to like business and success, it's a little harder because you don't have the volume to produce, millions and millions of dollars, right? And the people that are doing that type of business have been in the business for 20, 30 years. So when you get a guy that is first generation like me, and I really had to build my own connections and go out there. I don't have like these long-term family relationships kind of thing. I've really had to put in the work and really talk to myself and say like, okay, slow progress is better than no progress. And looking back at, coming up on 8 years of real estate, I'm looking at my daughter and she's already about to be 14.
Wow.
And that alone hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, shoot, where did even the past 10 years go where I was trying to figure all this out? Like I have to slow down. So, right, it's part of business, it's part of the cycle to where you start to learn like, okay, now how do we run a business? Where do we start delegating things and stuff like that? But to answer your question as far as like the pace and what I like about Albuquerque, it's just that. Like it's normal here. There's there's no yes, there's some kind of flashiness towards it, but it's weird in a way to where it's like we're flashy in the way of like how well we live, how well we treat our neighbors, our family, our community, the place we live in. Like nobody's really looking forward to moving to Albuquerque just cuz you really either find like some connection piece here, either towards the land or towards the people, towards the culture, towards the food that really wants to make you move here. And those types of people that are moving here even have more of an affinity and love for this place than some of the locals. And I see it to where a point like we kind of take this place for advantage. And I really seen that when I moved out to New York, seeing like when I walk outside and it's like full of trees, I see no mountains. And yes, I was 10 minutes away from the beach, but even at that, like I don't know, like being able to walk outside, I see the mountains, I have fresh air, the climate is pretty predictable. Like it's easy, like it's a no brainer. Like I don't have to worry about all these natural disasters and constantly being on this wheel. It's like I wake up, I go to work, I clock in, I clock out. Even in my real estate business, it's like people get it. Like, hey, people text me all the time and say, hey, I understand that you're with your family. You don't have to text me back till tomorrow. I just wanted to get this off my mind. Text me back whenever you get a chance.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
So with Albuquerque, just another quick little side note for anybody that's a big Breaking Bad fan. I know you and I were talking about this for a second before we started recording today. So since you are in real estate, we both are. And I saw a lot of stuff in the news recently about this the house that was on Breaking Bad, which is just kind of like the main one of the main scenes in most of the seasons. How that home was listed for sale, I think it was maybe like 6 months, 9 months ago for 4.4 million. And then I just got something in my feed maybe a week or two ago that's I actually didn't realize it had sold, but I had seen that hit a massive price reduction all the way down to 440,000. So literally dropped 90% of its price tag. And then you shared with me, well, I'll let you share that you actually had heard that it had sold.
Yeah. Yeah. So that house there, um, it gets a lot of attention from all the influencers and stuff like that. And they had to even put like security, big wrought iron gates so people wouldn't throw pizzas on the house or even disturb the lady. Like the poor lady, I think at some point she just got driven mad crazy because of all this. And she never expected this to happen, right? To a point where it was just like she was like calling the cops on people and stuff like that. So yeah, that house just recently sold and it sold to Aiden Ross, that YouTuber. And I think he bought it for around like $780,000. There's like a few bids on it. And yeah, he ended up winning it. He just announced it on some stream, I think. I seen this yesterday actually. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know what he plans to do with the property. I've heard that maybe he's going to turn it into like some Breaking Bad type of museum thing. I don't know, but I don't know. For me as a local, I'm like that house makes no sense even at $400,000. Um,
Exactly.
so it's pretty crazy on how like much influence, Instagrams, YouTubes, and TikToks have actually put on the real estate market when it comes to these vanity things like this house. Like, I don't know. To me, like the house is just they're the houses down the street that were for sale were a lot more appealing than this one here, just in my honest opinion, right? And that's kind of like showing light to what happens now in the world.
Yeah, pretty shallow world that we live in with that type of stuff happening. I know that I had heard what is his name? Matt Rife, the comedian. I think he had purchased the Annabelle house from the horror movies Annabelle, and at that one, at
Yeah.
least, I could see a little bit more reason, just because there's things that theoretically had happened, within the house with
Yeah.
some of the ghosts and stuff. But, anyways, just thought that was a fun little side note to share with you guys. And I think recently, that's one of the things that's really put Albuquerque kind of back in the headlines a little bit. So that was cool.
Yeah, on a positive note, right?
Yeah, exactly,
On a
exactly.
positive note. To your point about, like, vanity houses like this, I've always told people, even when I before I got into real estate, I met some older gentleman that was in the game, and he had told me, "If you get the opportunity to sell a haunted house, sell it, because it's always going to sell, and it's gonna sell for a lot more than you anticipate." I don't know, like, it's crazy, like, there's people who buy these things. The haunted house thing, I see a lot more than the Breaking Bad house, because
Yeah.
like, the Annabelle house, even, like, you guys have that hotel out there that they did
Yeah,
The
the
Shining.
Stanley Hotel. Yeah.
Like, if that thing ever sold, dude, like, that would be crazy. That's history, right? So, like, I think the historical part and, like, something tied to it that actually happened makes more sense than some show on a freaking house on a TV show.
Yeah, the only moneymaker I could see is if they maybe turned it into a short-term rental and it just, got such a high dollar amount per night just because of the status it had.
Well, we had the Stranger Things house here too, right?
No, I did not know that.
Mhm, yeah, the Stranger Things house, yeah, that just recently sold last year, but that was an Airbnb, and they had it all dressed up just like they did on the TV show. That one they actually filmed inside the house.
Oh,
So
wow.
that one makes more sense than the Breaking Bad house.
Well, let's shift gears. I'd like just to talk a little bit more about, the pursuit of progress, and I know, again, going back to just how you have all these things up in the air. At any given time, you've got, multiple full-time jobs, 2 kids, a wife, just a lot going on. Do you have a way that maybe yourself, but maybe also the rest of your family really protects that quality time that you have? For example, after 7 PM when you were talking about 7 AM to 7 PM, those are kind of your hours that you're available for people. After that, it's kind of, wait till tomorrow. Do you have, like, some non-negotiables or any sort of, strategy behind how you guys really decide, with that remaining time you do have with your family, how to just protect that? Whether it be, just as an example, like being, instead of focusing on saying yes to everything, understanding how you can start to say no to things, and that frees up your time, or really
Yeah.
being good about, like, blocking off time within your calendar, or do you have any, like, maybe a little tip or a trick strategy that might be beneficial for the audience to hear?
That's an awesome question, and yeah, I really, really rely on my calendar. When I started really teaching the family or my wife to really put stuff in there and tell her like, "Hey, if it's not in there, it does not exist," then that's when we were able to figure out like, "Hey, these are the times and dates that we have some time to where we can go on a morning date or on an actual date at night or whatever the case is." So yeah, like that's pretty much all we rely on is the calendar. We try not to overcomplicate it. We tried to like set like, hey, on Thursday nights we go and do this kind of thing. But then the kids started playing volleyball, or my son started having tutoring with one of his tutors to learn how to read and that kind of deal. So that just kind of like messed up our week. So we were like, this is too much structure. We got to leave some room for some flexibility. Like, so what I try to do is really try to get everything done in the morning and leave my afternoons quite open for things that come up, right? I got to step out of the office to go and take a kiddo to a dentist appointment, or I got to go home and handle something at the house, or a Saturday. It's like I try to leave my Saturdays pretty open and try to knock out everything during the week. That way that we can spend more time on the weekends, go out on a camping trip. This last year we bought a fifth wheel, so we're planning on doing more camping this year. So it's that like, hey, where can we fill in these gaps before I get busy? That way I know what to say no to or delegate it, right? Because I learned how to use somebody to help me show houses or go out and meet with the new buyer. And that's another thing that I've had to learn, right? Just letting go of some certain things um, that would benefit me and, make me money in order to do these other things that fulfill me a little bit more, right? Not saying that real estate doesn't fulfill me, but being with my family with the amount of time that I've already lost, having that in mind, it's like now I'm trying to make up. And the more that I can do that, I know real estate's just going to take care of itself, right? We've already done everything. We've done the YouTubes, we've done the Instagrams, we've created a little bit of a name for ourselves here locally. Like things are just going to happen. If we continue to do the daily things throughout the week, things are just going to happen. Like we're okay, right? And that's more or less like an internal conversation that I've had to where it relieves the anxiety, it relieves the pressure. It really helps me be more of a dad and a husband and be more present at home versus always thinking about business, right? Because
Mhm.
that's the trap that we fall into is like we're always thinking about the next thing that we can do better or this or that. And I really had a conversation with my buddy this past week. We met up for coffee, and these are friends that I've had for the almost about 20 years now. And he asked me like, why? why do you want to do all this? And I was like, dude, I've asked myself that before, but I've never really asked myself to the level of what you're asking me. He said, do that. And then once you get to that point, because you're going to reach a certain point to where you start to almost deny yourself on the things, ask yourself, why not me? Why not? Why can't I do that? And then that's where you start to get better at your game. I was like, dude, like, that's crazy. Like, I've never even thought about that. And this guy is like, he, by trade, he's an actor. So for me to have that conversation with my buddy, it was crazy. It was like eye opening. And it really helped me out just to really put things into perspective of like, okay, where can I better plan my time and what tools can I put tactically in place that will help me with that? Okay, well, let's look at our schedule. If we're going to live by the schedule, what can we do to where it's like maybe Mondays we pack in our schedule to where it's like Mondays we really don't have too much going on. It's the start of the week. People are getting their week started, kind of getting back into the groove to where we can do things to get ahead. Yeah, we're getting back into the groove ourselves, but can we, do all the things that necessarily don't require a lot of time from us, like writing a blog post, doing an Instagram post, doing, the analytics for our YouTube channel, just all those little nuanced things that you would think would take a lot of time. But once you actually sit down and do them, it's like, oh, shoot, that only took about 30 minutes.
Are you a
Right.
big proponent of batch? So when it comes to personal branding and some of the social media related stuff with batch recording and just being really good about dedicating an hour and not just doing maybe one social media post, but spending that hour to plan out the next five and recording all the content for those five and just working smarter, not harder.
I used to be,
Okay.
but somewhere in the past couple of years, I've realized that I only have so much bandwidth throughout the day to where I'd rather put out something that is good versus something that's mediocre and I just kind of half-assed it, right? I do use a lot of tools like ChatGPT to help me, not to do all the work for me, but to do a little bit of the heavy lifting to just get me there, right? I'm struggling with an idea. Hey, I use all those prompts. Give me 5 hooks that will stop the scroll, whatever the case is. And then I just go through them. I'm like, oh, that one sticks out. And then I kind of reframe it to what I'm thinking about that day. And I do have like a content calendar that I have now that I plug in most of my ideas. I try to do that on Sundays to where I already know what I'm going to be posting for that week. It's just creating the description, going out to film the actual video, whatever it is at that point. I try to figure out throughout the week. That way it's not so much stress of like, all right, Tuesday at 2 o'clock, I got to do this. Because when I started doing that, I was like, if I missed it, now I got this in the back of my mind and it's freaking stressing me out while I'm at home that I didn't do that task, right? Because I fixate. Call it ADHD, ADAD, or whatever D's that you want to call it, right? It's really the true fashion of learning how I work. And I know this is how most people work. We only have so much bandwidth throughout the day that, um, and I learned this from doing that 75 hard thing. But then I started really looking at it and I'm like, dude, why do I have to have 8 tasks in a day if my day only requires for me to do 3 to 4? Why do I have to continuously figure out to do 8 tasks to be successful? Like, I get it. And maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this is for that person that has no structure or doesn't know how to really do these things. But for me, these are the certain things that I need to do each day with the time that I've allotted myself that will allow me to succeed, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I thought of when you were talking through that is I know with Andy Frisella, the creator of 75 Hard, I actually joined his he has like this new it's called the operator standard. It's like this premium, it's $50 a month, and they have like a specific different set of podcasts that are a lot more like deeper insights on like growing businesses and that kind of stuff. But he talks a lot about just like winning the day, and everybody has the same 24 hours. And just the ones that really find massive success are people that are just that consistency, but breaking it down to that 24-hour time period where every day, as long as you make these, small wins and get whatever you're trying to get done that day, and then you just focus on tomorrow and then the next day rather than, just something that's more of like a big goal that just gets talked about once a week. But,
Yeah.
um,
You
uh,
know what I learned too is say you do have a big task list that like you're like, I got to get all these things done today. That's not bad either because what you can always do is push it off to the next day, right? And then you figure out when to add it there, right? And maybe something else gets pushed off to the next day. But what I found is that that will always give you something to do. It'll always keep you busy, right? It's like, oh, shoot, I have this project that I got to get done. I'm going to work on it a little bit today. If I don't get it done, then I can push it off till tomorrow,
Mhm.
right? I don't know if that's good or bad, but I know that it allows you to fill up your schedule with things that you are constantly doing to touch base on your business, touch base on your health and fitness, whatever the goal is at that period in time. And I think that's another thing, right? Is like you got to understand what you're striving for. What is your actual goal versus the whole money aspect of it? Because I think that's where it gets muddy is when you start to really just think in terms of like, how much money is this going to make me? Versus like, what is the ROI in my health and fitness? What is the ROI with time spent with loved ones or family members? What is the ROI of me just having peace at that point, right? I think that gets left on the back burner a lot because people are always in the pursuit of just financial gain. And I think that can mess a lot of people up.
How old are you? Mid
32?
30s? 32, yeah. You're
Yeah.
like a wise old soul. Like, I feel like I'm 10 years older than you, and I feel like we're at the same level in life. Like, because I was gonna ask you this because we have very different backgrounds as far as I don't have any kids. I've got a, live-in girlfriend, but no kids. But it just seems like you do a really good job of just kind of understanding, where what is most important in life. Maybe that's something that's just been over the last few years you've started to maybe get more clarity on. But I just think that's something that I've admired from you about you from
Appreciate
before when
that.
we've talked to just having the bigger picture in mind. And what I was going to say about that is me at 42, I'm almost 43, and I had that. I don't like to use the word midlife crisis, but like kind of figuring out like what is the point of what is the purpose of life, and trying to figure out like what that greater purpose is, just to keep me just motivated and moving forward because of something bigger than just money.
Yeah.
And it seems like you've kind of been able to figure that out pretty early on in life, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it wasn't easy, right? Because my background is that I didn't have all this teaching or people around me that were doing great things to be successful, right? They were people who weren't so good of people that were successful, right? So you're talking about people that, they had values and ideas that I took little bits and pieces from, but then I also see the backside of the negative stuff that would happen to them, and I was like, I really don't want that. So how can I get to whatever that looks like, that successful point, but the right way? Is it going to take us longer? For sure. Okay. But then I'm like, well, dummy, if you live to 74, 75, hopefully longer, you got some time. Like, let's enjoy it. If it's going to take you 10 years to get there, then we might as well enjoy what we're doing. Like, let's slow down and really try to master what we're doing. That way, when it's all said and done, when people point to you, they're like, yeah, that guy's good at this, or he's really badass at that, whatever that skill is. But for me, it's just like looking back at my upbringing and being like, I've had to grow up a little bit faster than most people around me. And for me, that was just how can I always stay sharp for those people around me because people depend on me. It's not about me. It's about the people around me that are looking up to me to be this person, to succeed at this level, to do whatever goals that I've set out to really achieve them.
Hmm.
And it's really been that and just really trying to discover that. And I don't know if it's like um in a philosophy kind of way, but it really was that at some point in time to where it's like, oh, this is all mindset. Like these people who are out here constantly messing up, they're on the right track, but then somewhere down the road they mess it up royally and they can't get back on track. Like, how can I avoid that? Like, what do I got to do to not be that person? Right. So, yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And I have a lot of people tell me that. And I really do feel like that old soul. Right. Even down to the music that I listen to, dude. Like nowadays, like I listen to a lot of like jazz and classical music and, right. Aside from the reggae and stuff like that, we
Hell yeah.
constantly share.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But most of the time it's like that old music. And it's like, man, I find like, being able to play an instrument and being able to play it well and it sounds great, like, even with the technology that they had back then, which is nothing what we have today, is like, wow, that's amazing. That requires skill and talent, like, man, that's a lot of work and a lot of hours that this person had to put behind it. So, little something about me there.
Yeah, that's cool. I think, one thing that I'm working on is understanding, like, the value of, like, so my co-host Ben and I, we work out together in the morning, so he's my accountability partner, and it's just crazy
Nice.
how you almost value somebody else's impression of you, or if somebody else is relying on you, I'm more likely to do whatever that is versus if it's just for myself, which is so
Yeah.
backwards in thinking. But I think when you do have a family and you have kids and a wife and those things, those are obviously something other than yourself that's motivating you to be better and work harder and build something for a purpose
Yeah.
bigger than yourself. I say all of that with just kind of this next question in mind. What would you say in your mind? How would you define success if it's not monetary, um, or some sort of like a milestone? Like, success isn't getting the top agent in Albuquerque, and it's also not making $1 million a year. Like, what would you then describe or define success as?
This is going to sound corny. And because I've thought about this just recently, and for me, it's two words, it's freedom and peace.
I like that.
As simple as it sounds, whatever that looks like for, the listener, it's like freedom and peace. Freedom to do whatever you want when you want, and peace to say, like, this is me and this is who I am, like, take it or leave it.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not a bad person, for one, but I'm doing my best to be the best that I can be for everybody else around me. And that's peace, right? That's peaceful to know that, again, bringing up your podcast name, In the Pursuit of Progress, like, you're constantly trying to be better than you were yesterday. And that's not like a hamster wheel thing, right? That's just recognizing that, yes, we all have faults and it's okay, right? It's okay to be a faulty human being. We all are. We all have our deficiencies. But how can we change some of those things? It's that whole 1% better kind of thing. How can we change those throughout the day? How can we make somebody else smile? How can we make somebody else feel better? If we're feeling down, especially me, when I'm not feeling the greatest, I do something for somebody else because that makes me feel good. That
Hmm.
makes me feel better to see somebody else smile. And, positivity is contagious. So whenever you see that person smile, you're like, oh man, that feels good. Right. So it's just that, right? Finding the freedom and the peace and being able to say, like, I want to go on a weekend trip with my family and not have to worry about business or anybody hounding me that I got to meet a quota or I got to meet this, that, and the third. It's like, no, like, if I want to work, I work. If I don't, then that's on me, and being
So,
okay with that.
so the freedom, it's not necessarily financial freedom. It's more almost time or just the ability to be able to put anything that's in front of you aside and not have it all
Yeah. And
crumble.
being able to say no to things, right?
Hmm.
I recently started saying no to a lot of things. People approach me with different business ideas all the time. And I'm like, sorry, I can't. Like, no, like, I nothing against you, but I have a ton already on my plate, and if I add that to my plate, it's only gonna be, um I'm only gonna fail you because I'm so focused on what I'm doing, but, I don't want you to see me in that light as that type of person that says yes to it for just the sake of saying yes to an opportunity without really having an idea of where I'm at in my life. Like, that's a level of maturity that you gotta go through, I believe, to be able to say no to those kinds of things, right? Even if it's a great opportunity. Hey, yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's just not for me right now.
I like that. So you're obviously really into just improving yourself, others around you. What are you using as motivation? Are you a big reader, or do you listen to podcasts, books, movies? Like, what to just kind of close out this episode, maybe a couple things
Yeah,
to share with our audience that maybe they don't know
for
about yet,
sure.
that maybe they would get some motivation from.
Well, books for one. I was never a big reader growing up. And now more days I'm reading more books, right? Just and not those not like really self-improvement books, but books about like other people's lives that were successful, like other like presidents, war figures, just diving into their mentality to figure out how they were able to succeed, right? Versus the whole like this is what you got to do to be this or that and this and that, right? A good one that I actually read that is kind of like that, a self improvement book, is that one by Ryan Holiday. What is it? The
Where he does all the, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's I had it here. I think I left it at home. Oh, actually, I do have it. Right, the obstacle is the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yep, he does.
This
What do you
one,
call the Aristotle, Socrates, what do you call it? There's a term for that.
the
Stoicism.
stoicism
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. And I never knew that was a thing, right? I just when I would hear these ideas, I'm like, oh man, that's how we're supposed to think. Like, yeah, life is tough, but how do we change our perspective to turn these tough situations into positive ones? How do we turn that right? And I've got lucky because my mom always spoke those kinds of words into me because we were never dealt like the right cards, right? Say how it is kind of thing.
Mhm.
One thing that I recollect, and I recollected this with my wife, and she's like, you got to understand that's kind of like trauma, is when we were growing up, I remember explicitly collecting cans and saving them and taking them to exchange them for money to pay for diapers for my sister. Yeah, so stories like that, it's like, yeah, we went through all these tough times, but I didn't know any better. So for me, just being able to come out of that and seeing that I'm okay is like, man, yeah, my mom really like instilled this positive mindset of, hey, yes, things aren't good right now, but always keep pushing forward. Always move forward. It's not always going to be like this. It's going to pass over. Like these things don't last. Like even recently now, like my uncles, we've had a couple of deaths in the family, and even that, like my mom is still positive, and she's the older sibling out of all of them, so I'm the oldest like grandchild. So when it comes down to my mom's side, it's like people are always coming to us looking for guidance and advice and help, and it's like maybe it's just a position where we played to where we had to be strong. We didn't have no real choice, but it's really served us, right? And of course, on the back end, it's been hard to really like express emotionally where we're at because we've never had the opportunity to. Now I'm getting the opportunity to, through my kids and my family. But I think at time and place, that's really served me and really helped me. But yeah, getting back to what I'm doing is doing a little bit more reading, figuring out other people's ideals, having conversations like this and getting with other human beings and getting outside of the Instagram hustle cultures and that kind of deal because at one point, yeah, that helped, right? It helped me kick some, fire under my butt or whatever the case is to get back into motion. And at times it does serve me. But I think in all reality, when you start having real conversations and really diving into people's perspectives and ideas, you can pick and choose what you like and it really can serve you, right? So I think for me, it's just that. It's just seeing how other people are living, right? In a realistic sense versus these people who are anomalies, right? Because there's no, they're out of touch for reality at some point. They want you to do all this and be super successful. And why aren't you do? It's like, dude, like I got 100 other things that I got to do. And maybe you're doing the same. I don't know. But here's what I'm working with and I'm sure it's way different that you were working with. And my wife, again, bringing her up, she reminds me of this all the time. She says, you have to remember that some of these guys that are ahead of you, they don't they don't have all the responsibilities that you have. They either don't have kids or they don't have another job or they can just go out and do all these things because they don't have to be home by 7 o'clock to, put the kids to bed or have dinner or be home on the weekends to help out with the house, clean the house and do these things, right? So be grateful, give yourself some grace, yeah, you got a lot of responsibility, but be grateful for that, like that you have the opportunity to have all these things because some other people don't, right? I don't know, like, just so we don't get too much in the weeds, just wanted to plug that in because I felt like it could help somebody, right? It's okay to not be at the position to where maybe some of your peers are. It's okay, right? This is your life. This is your plan. This is what you're supposed to be doing, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be at. So put on the blinders and just run that race,
Love
whatever
that.
it looks like, right?
We're such a comparison culture these days and get so caught up in the highlight reels that everybody posts on social media, and it's not reality, it's not the norm, it's not what their life is like either, whoever's posting it. And just like you're saying, put the blinders on and just focus on you and who's most important to you and forget about everything else. It's easier said than done, but very, very
Yeah,
well
yeah.
said.
Yeah, because we all want, it's a cool ass car, big ass house, but at the end of the day, you gotta remember you gotta maintenance that car and you gotta clean that big ass house.
Very true. Very true. Well, I'd love to just share with our audience just how they can maybe get a hold of you in case maybe they're considering real estate in Albuquerque or they just want to
For
get in touch
sure.
with you.
For sure. Yeah. So they can find me on Instagram or TikTok at Eli Nevarez underscore, or just call or text me, right? My phone number is 505-738-4543. Call or text me at any time. Love to
Okay. And I'll
chat.
put,
Love to help somebody out with that. If it's another person in business that just wants to connect, I'm open. I love to have these conversations because, again, I learn from you just as much as you learn from me.
hmm and I'll put all your info in the show notes too, guys. So if anybody wants to get a hold of him, you guys can find his info there. Cool, Eli. Well, thanks,
Sweet.
buddy. Any closing out thoughts before we wrap it up?
Man, the only thing that I got to say to your audience is that, and I told my wife this morning, if you're going through hell, keep on going. It gets better.
I like that. You're going to get through it if you just keep going.
That's it. It gets better. It does. And just, keep your head down, keep your faith, and just believe in yourself, even when nobody else does.
Love that. I love that. Thanks, man. All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, this is Eli Nevarez out in Albuquerque. Connect with him if you like. And I'm looking forward to sharing a brand new episode with you guys next Friday on the Pursuit of Progress podcast. We'll catch you guys then. Bye.
Peace.